Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about interpreting box and whisker plots. So if you will have some pencil and paper and a calculator ready, and you can pause the video at any point and rewatch something if you need to. So let's go ahead and look at the first one. It says the accompanying box and whisker plot represents the cost in dollars of 12 CDs. So we don't know what each of those 12 numbers in the data set were, but we do know our 5 main pieces of information that we learned about in the previous video based on the box and whisker plot here. So let's go ahead and look at the questions. The first one says, which cost is the upper quartile? So before we answer any of these questions, let's go to the box and whisker plot and label, just as a reminder, what each of these pieces are. So this one right here is going to be the lower extreme. I'm just going to abbreviate and put LE for that. The left end of the box represents the lower quartile. The line right here represents the median. The right end of the box is the upper quartile. And then this far end point right here is the upper extreme. So now we have everything labeled just as a reminder, which should make things a little easier as we go through. So the first question asks us for the upper quartile. So this is the right end of the box right here, and it looks like that's at 26. So the upper quartile is going to be $26. Okay, next question says, what is the range of the cost of the CDs? So range is the difference between the upper extreme and the lower extreme. It looks like the highest cost was $29 minus the lowest cost was $7. So 29 minus 7 is going to give us $22 for the range. So that means there was a difference of $22 between the most expensive CD and the least expensive. Okay, next question asks, what is the median? So that's this line right here. Now, when I go down and look at it on the number line, it looks like it's not quite at 20, not quite at 21. So we're going to assume that it's probably right about in the middle at $20.50. Okay. All right, question D, how much does the most expensive CD cost? So essentially what they're asking us for is what is the upper extreme? So that's going to be the $29. Okay, question E, how many CDs cost between $14.50 and $26? So let's go check and see where those values are. $14.50. It looks like that's the lower quartile right here. And then $26 looks like it's the upper quartile. So we know that the middle box represents 50% of our data. If you remember that each quartile is 25%, let's come in and label that just as a reminder. So from here to here is 50%. So I'm just going to write myself a reminder, 50%. Now, it doesn't say what percentage of the CDs are between $14.50 and $26. It actually says how many CDs. And we can figure that out because they told us in the information up here how many total CDs there were, which was 12. So basically we need to find what is 50% of 12. Of means multiply, so 50% of 12 is 6. So there were 6 CDs that cost between $14.50 and $26. Okay, last question on this section says how many CDs cost less than $14.50? So again, $14.50 was our lower quartile. So less than would be to the left. So that's 25% of the CDs. But again, it doesn't ask for the percentage. We want an actual number of CDs. So we're finding 25% of 12. Of means to multiply. So depending on what type of calculator you're using at home, you may or may not have a percent sign on your calculator. So if you don't, you can just change this to a decimal and put that in as a decimal. So 25% would be 0.25 times 12. You could also think of it as what is 1/4 of 12, which would be 3. So 3 CDs, and we should have labeled this one as well, but I forgot. So 6 CDs. was the answer for question E. Okay, let's go down to the next part. Hey, this one says the accompanying box and whisker plot represents the scores earned on a math test. Question A, what is the median score? So again, this line right here is the median. So it looks like the number for that data point is going to be 75. Okay, question B, what score represents the first quartile? And then in parentheses it says lower quartile. So depending on where you're looking, some people will refer to the lower quartile as the first quartile. Like they'll call this Q1, they'll call the median quartile 2, and then the upper quartile they'll call the third quartile. So that's just kind of a difference of terminology, but it means the same thing. So the first quartile or the lower quartile is going to be the left end of the box, which looks like it's at 70. Okay, question C. What statement is not true about the box and whisker plot shown? So let's go through and look at these choices. So the first choice says 75 represents the mean score. Well, if we don't know what the exact numbers in the data set were, we don't know how many numbers there are, I don't think we can really find the mean. So let's kind of hold off on that one. I'm thinking that's probably going to be the answer. Let's look at option 2. It says 100 represents the maximum score. Well, that would be the upper extreme, and yes, it does look like that's true. So I'm going to eliminate that choice because we want to know what's not true. The third choice says 85 represents the upper quartile. This is the upper quartile here. It looks like it is at 85, so that one is true, so we can eliminate that. And then the fourth choice says 55 represents the minimum score. That would be the lower extreme. And it does look like it's at 55. So that's also a true statement. So yes, it looks like that this is not going to be true. Now, it could be true, but there's no way that we could know for sure without knowing every single number in the data set so that we could add them up and divide by how many there are. We know that 75 is the median for sure, and it may or may not be the mean. It probably is not, but if we don't know for sure, then we have to say that it's false. Okay, last question. It says a score of an 85 on the box and whisker plot shown refers to, so let's go and see where's 85. Well, it's right here at the right end of the box, which is our upper quartile, and it looks like that is the first choice there. Okay, so you can go back and rewatch anything that you feel like you need to, pause, take notes, email your teacher if you have any questions, and now you'll have some independent practice coming up in just a minute. Thanks, guys.